Alicia Elliott, we have next. We're overjoyed to have Alicia here, in particular because Alicia just joined the Fiddlehead as the inaugural creative nonfiction editor. So we're really happy she could make the trip down to be with us. She's done absolutely astonishing amounts of work in putting together our all creative nonfiction issue, which is coming out this fall. So thanks and absolute wonder, Alicia. Alicia is a Tuscarora writer, and she has traveled here from Brantford, Ontario. She's an essayist. Her work has been nominated for and has won a bunch of national magazine awards. She's also a fiction writer, and her short stories have been selected for the Best American Short Stories 2018, the Best Canadian Short Stories 2018, and the Journey Prize Anthology. Tanya Talaga recently selected Alicia to receive the RBC Taylor Emerging Writer Award. And her first book, A Mind Spread Out on the Ground, will be published this March by Doubleday Canada. So congratulations on that. I recently came back from the Canadian Writers' Summit, and I heard Alicia speak there on a panel about writing in the land. And I saw firsthand the awe with which Alicia is regarded. You could feel this good tension in the audience, waiting to hear what she was going to say. So I won't keep you waiting any longer. Please welcome Alicia Elliott.
So the story I will be reading from is called Tracks. So here we go. For the 12th time in 2 days, I watch as Laura shreds her vocal cords screaming, and still she'll take no drugs. Her eyes are hooded with exhaustion, her hair a wet mass on her sticky forehead. It was a 22-hour delivery, most of which she spent foodless and hunched over a birthing stool in the biggest suite at Sinamwe Ayotsaraka. I'm sorry, my Mohawk is awful. Ona Gresa. She wanted a natural delivery, she'd said. If she could feel the conception, she sure as shit was going to feel the birth. That was Laura, ever crude and to the point. Are you sure you don't want to go to the hospital? How many times do I have to tell you? No. Heck, Roy. The camera shrinks away. It focuses on me, spitting encouragement through the pulsing crush of Laura's grip. I glimpse up at the camera, at Roy, pained smile. Back then, I didn't know for sure that I couldn't conceive, but I had my suspicions. I fast forward to the end, when Sherry is finally in her arms. Laura looks tired as hell, but when the camera comes for a close-up, she swats it away with impressive quickness. You're not allowed to catch my wrinkles on camera just because I gave birth to your kid. There's a time lapse. When the camera starts again, Laura's made up like some eager starlet, but she's not looking at the camera from beneath pristine eyelashes or blowing kisses the way she would when she was young. She's looking down at Sherry. Every touch and gesture is full of yearning for both the present and the future, tracing Sherry's veins with her fingers like she's following a map. Like in those small bursts of blue peeking from beneath crystalline skin, Laura saw their lives, love and anger, tenderness and humor, pain and envy. Like Laura saw their worlds, separate but interlocking, like two halves of a Venn diagram. No one watching then would have seen anything but a mother and a daughter, each absolutely smitten, adoring and sizing one another up. I'm not sure I see anything different now, but I continually find myself trying. Nothing ever really comes out of the blue. There must be shifting eyes somewhere in the grainy footage, a hesitation, a smile held a moment too long. Tom is standing in the doorway in too big black suit. He's holding my black pumps and watching me, a question on his face. I wish he would just ask it. Is it time? He nods. I stop the video, get up, and grab my shoes. There is a persistent, musty smell in the viewing room. It's hidden well beneath strangers' perfumes and plug-in deodorizers, but it's there. I imagine it's the smell of formaldehyde or death, though I've never really smelled either. I haven't been to a funeral since Uncle Rob's, and that doesn't really count. I was so young, for all I remember, I wasn't there at all. Laura said she remembered everything, from the music, fucking Garth Brooks, to the huge-ass mole on the priest's chin. I didn't consider it at the time, but it was strange a priest was there. Mom said when she and Uncle Rob were at the mush hole together, he was constantly in trouble, back-talking the priests and refusing to speak English and biting the unlucky teacher tasked with cutting his long black Indian hair to a more civilized length. They beat him so he hated them. He hated them so they beat him. And at the end of his life, a priest was praying over his Mohawk soul. 20 years after that funeral, I met this one. 3 generations, almost an entire family, gone, all put to rest courtesy of Steyer's funeral home. Laura planned her funeral shortly after she and Roy were married. It should have set off alarm bells, but it didn't. At least her preparations have helped Roy. All he's had to do is nod, mute. The room is orderly enough, chairs arranged with absurd precision. I have the feeling that if I were to take a ruler and measure the distance between each one, I'd come up with the same number every time. There must be a sort of science to grief, some manual funeral home directors adhere to, detailing the most manageable chair arrangement or flower placement for friends and family of the deceased. Everything is too calculated, the beige wallpaper, the overstuffed couches, the prepackaged condolences. Aunt Chelsea is at the podium, mascara that took her 30 minutes of applying and reapplying to perfect, now sliding, sap-like, down her cheek. Otherwise, she is composed, wearing the stiff, proud pout of a once great general facing a war tribunal. Her voice is level and dry. Laura was such a smart girl. Rob loved her so much. When we lost him, she was 4. It was difficult, but she was strong. Smart, strong, adjectives any parent could slap on the dead child they didn't care to know. I look around for evidence of skepticism, not even a raised eyebrow. No one is thinking about Aunt Chelsea and Laura's relationship, which was tempestuous at best. In the face of death, ugly truths are redacted. As long as I can remember, every conversation between them had notes of danger, as though any minute they'd collapse into fists and fire. I don't remember Laura ever mentioning Aunt Chelsea with anything resembling love. Even when she was 6 and should have still been under her mother's spell, she ignored her almost constantly, called her Chelsea with satisfaction. I remember in grade 9 when she was asked to prom by Mark Hansen, a white 20-year-old senior with a car and nipple rings. She was one of the only 9th graders going. Probably one of the only kids from the res going, too, a fact she loved to remind us, dangling it in front of our faces like a succulent piece of fruit. Laura couldn't do anything without thoroughly pissing off her mother, though, so she decided to wear Aunt Chelsea's low-cut red cocktail dress, the expensive one she bought herself in Toronto to celebrate graduating nursing school. The way Laura's told it, she sauntered home drunk at 3 a.m., wearing Mark's leather jacket and swinging her panties around her finger. She greeted her mother with a smile, slurring, "Guess who's a woman now?" before throwing up on the kitchen floor. "You should have seen her face, Em," she'd said, laughing. "I've never heard her scream so loud. And all for that ugly dress. Never mind her piss-drunk daughter shooting vomit like a fucking sprinkler." But a month after prom, when it became obvious that Mark Hansen's gravity's as good as birth control claim was bullshit, Aunt Chelsea didn't yell or tell her she had it coming, even if she thought it. She calmly described Laura's options, then asked what she wanted to do. When abortion was chosen, Aunt Chelsea didn't flinch or grimace in that self-satisfied way she usually did when Laura chose anything. She diligently set about doing all the work, finding a clinic, booking the appointment in Toronto, borrowing a car to drive us there. All Laura did the week before the procedure was talk about Mark. He hadn't even looked in her direction since prom. "I'm going to keep the fetus so I can send it to him, like in a little jar. Oh, I should put a big birth certificate in there, innit? You know, like Mark Hansen Jr. was aborted on this day, child to a naive girl and a small-dicked asshole." You haven't been naive since kindergarten. Maybe I should send to his mom. She'd already be pissed enough an Indian snagged her son, but wouldn't it be great if she was one of those crazy pro-lifers? Like with the signs and bombs and stuff? She might actually kill Mark. Save me the trouble. But when the day came, she didn't even mention Mark. She didn't say anything at all. Afterwards, she cried against her mother's chest for almost an hour. It was strange to watch them in that embrace, as though they were any mother and daughter at any moment in history. Timeless. Thanks, guys.